You can actually buy a house in the US for under $10,000, seriously. And no, I'm not talking about some Craigslist nightmare or a horror movie mansion with a 20-page disclaimer. These places are legit. They're out there. You just don't hear about them often. While most folks are drowning in massive mortgages, there are towns quietly offering homes so cheap it almost sounds fake. But, obviously, there's always a catch. Sometimes you'll wind up in a faded mining town with fiber internet that could embarrass LA. Other times, it's a lakeside spot where bear spray and a backup generator are just part of the welcome kit. I'm about to take you through 25 towns where house prices are suspiciously low, and everyone comes with its own hold-up. What? Moment. One place has a ghost tour run by the actual mayor. Somewhere else, the median house price is less than a used Honda Civic. Trust me, you're not ready for what's next. Tap like so the algorithm thinks I exist. Subscribe because, honestly, someday you'll want a way out. And this channel is your emergency exit plan. I'm not just scratching the surface here. This is the weird stuff most people skip. By the end, you'll either be looking for moving boxes or questioning how a house can cost this little. Let's kick off with number 25, Harlingen, Texas. You can rent a full 3-bedroom house in Harlingen for less than a studio apartment in Tulsa. Let that sink in. Harlingen is way down in the Rio Grande Valley. Population just over 71,000, right by the Mexico border. It's palm trees, endless sunshine, and prices that make LA realtors cry. Again and again, Harlingen shows up on lists of America's cheapest cities. The median home price, around $136,000. Most people pay that just as a down payment somewhere else. No state income tax, low property taxes, and tacos everywhere you turn. So why isn't everyone moving here? Because, let's be honest, cheap always has a hidden cost. Crime about 35% above the national average. Think lots of theft and car burglaries. Jobs not great. Unemployment is higher than the national average. One Redditor put it like this: living in Harlingen is like being stuck in 1998, except Blockbuster is still closed. Houses are cheaper, but so are the paychecks, and summer, your AC basically becomes a member of the family. So what's the emotional cost of all that savings? Sure, you'll keep more money, but you'll also spend your nights double-checking your car locks or wondering if the mall is just a Dollar Tree taped to a vape shop. And don't get me started on the drivers. Half the cars don't have working turn signals, and the other half use them just to mess with you. I once saw someone do a backwards U-turn straight into a Taco Bell drive-thru. In Harlingen, traffic rules are more like soft suggestions. Kind of like putting the toilet seat down. Picture this: you walk out to sunshine, birds, and the smell of breakfast tacos, only to dodge a rogue shopping cart in the H-E-B parking lot. That's Harlingen, and if you think that's strange, just wait for the next town, where quirky is basically the town sport. Number 24, Weirton, West Virginia. The average house here costs less than a new Toyota Camry and comes with more steel mill stories than your uncle's Facebook. Weirton used to be the kind of place where steel mills ran 24/7 and Friday night football was more important than church. It sits on the Ohio River, technically part of Pittsburgh's metro area, but don't tell the locals. Seriously, they'll argue about it. The town still has that old-school blue-collar feel. Diners, people actually sitting on porches, streets that look frozen in a faded 60s photo. Median house price, about $112,000. Sounds like a bargain, right? But the steel jobs disappeared in the 80s, and the economy's been limping along ever since. Job growth, almost none. The population's been dropping for decades. And about 18% of residents are over 65. Great if you love bingo, not so great if you want to start a tech business. Someone online said, Weirton's where time stands still and so does the Wi-Fi. Crime isn't really a problem, but the paychecks aren't impressive either. Median household income is around $45,000, if you can find a full-time job. So what do you really get here? A town that seems peaceful, safe, and sort of frozen in time at least until you realize the highlight of Friday night is probably a late trip to Sheetz for half-priced mozzarella sticks. Sure, it's all affordable, but don't expect much in the way of nightlife unless you bring your own friends. Wyron's the kind of place where your GPS gets confused and tells you to turn left straight into the past. I counted 3 barber shops, 2 bowling alleys, and not one Starbucks. Seriously, not even a single one. If you're craving a fancy coffee, you're out of luck. Your options are gas station cappuccino or learning to appreciate plain black drip. And for whatever reason, every parking lot has a stray shopping cart sitting in the middle, even when there's no store nearby. Step outside and you'll hear cicadas droning off in the distance. Maybe see a neighbor waving from a sun-bleached lawn chair that looks like it's seen every summer since disco, and catch a mix of charcoal and mothballs in the air. It's peaceful, I'll give it that. At least until you try to get decent internet and end up searching for DSL that doesn't totally stink. Think Warren is odd. The next town just throws logic out the window and builds a Dollar General on a pile of rubble. Now comes number 23, Decatur. Decatur's the kind of town where you can grab a 3-bedroom house for under 90 grand and still have enough left for a year's supply of frozen pizza. There's a reason for that. Welcome to Decatur, Illinois, home to around 68,000 people, endless cornfields, and an almost obsessive love for soybeans. I'm not exaggerating, they call it the soybean capital of the world. There are more processing plants here than Starbucks cups in Los Angeles. Housing, the median price is about $93,000. Cost of living is 26% lower than the national average. Rent barely makes it past $800. Sounds pretty good, right? But then you breathe in and remember nothing's perfect. Decatur's got an industrial smell that creeps up on you, and the crime rate isn't helping. Violent crime is 54% higher than the US average. Jobs, it's all about manufacturing and agriculture. Not exactly the best place for tech grads or remote workers. As one blunt Reddit user put it, it's affordable. Just don't open your windows when a DM's running. So, what's it really like living here? Your mortgage so low it feels like a joke. The air. Most days, it smells like corn syrup. The social life. If you're under 40, get ready to spend your Friday nights with retirees at the VFW. And driving. Let's just say stop signs are more like gentle suggestions. I once watched a guy roll through a 4-way stop with coffee in one hand and a chicken biscuit in the other, like he was auditioning for some farm-tunable NASCAR. And the weather. Forget about it. It's either so humid you can barely move, or so windy you're chasing your trash can halfway to Indiana. Picture this. It's 6 in the morning. Factory steam makes the sunrise look foggy. You grab a hot gas station coffee, drive past a grain silo, and wave at your neighbor who's probably been shoveling soybeans off his porch since before you were born. Decatur isn't trying to impress anyone, it just is. So, would you live somewhere your house smells like soy sauce 3 days a week? Yes or no? I'll let the comments decide. I've lived in Decatur my whole life. It's quiet, it's cheap, and honestly it always smells like we're getting ready for soup night. And if you think Decatur's air is a lot, wait until you meet the next town's brand of weird. Number 22, Enid. Enid is one of those rare American cities where the houses are cheap, and so is the dirt beneath them. Welcome to Enid, Oklahoma, place where tractors outdrown everything. The sky never ends, and your dollar goes a lot farther than your Wi-Fi ever will. Enid's home to about 51,000 folks, give or take. Wheat, oil, and a small-town feel, so strong you'll get a nod just for walking down the street. Median home price, right around $128,000. Cost of living is 17% under the national average. You can rent a 2-bedroom for about $750 a month, assuming you're okay with floors that look like they've seen a few tornadoes. It's cheap, it's quiet. There's a kind of old-fashioned charm, but sometimes that quiet turns into something else. Too much silence, you know? Most jobs are in aviation or government. So if you're not flying planes or working on pipelines, options get pretty slim. Unemployment hovers over 4.5%. And unless you're fired up by grain elevators, let's just say you'll have to create your own fun. Crime slow. Commutes are easy 15 minutes, tops. But nobody mentions how this town runs on wind and its own brand of oddball. Someone on Reddit put it perfectly. Living in Enid is like being in a country song minus the romance. Plus extra windburn. You'll save a bundle on housing, that's the good part. But you'll save on entertainment too, because, honestly, there's not much to do after dark. Think high school football, maybe a trip to Walmart if you're feeling adventurous. you get space.com, and so much nothing that you'll end up naming the tumbleweeds out your window. The weather, meh, it's either where's my hoodie, or what did I do to deserve this? That Oklahoma wind will slap you around and run off with your trash cans without a second glance. And all the coffee shops close at 3 p.m. sharp. Seriously, what if I want caffeine after lunch? So you end up at a gas station, picking between a questionable hot dog and a cappuccino that tastes like regret. But then you step outside. Wheat fields shimmer in the sun, the air's brisk, and you can hear a rooster somewhere in the distance. Diesel, biscuits, maybe a train going by. You wave at the train, it doesn't wave back, but still you feel noticed. Honestly, could you live somewhere the wind has more personality than most people, and Starbucks is a 40-minute drive? What do you say, yes or no? Enid's got a big heart, unrelenting wind, and small-town gossip that spreads faster than a cold at a Sunday potluck. And if you think Enid's tumbleweeds are weird, wait until you see the next spot where strange is basically the local flavor. Number 21, Bay City. You can get a house here for under $95,000 depending on the wind. It either smells like Cheerios or wet carpet. Welcome to the Midwest. Bay City's that laid-back cousin in the Great Lakes Clannonat, as flashy as Traverse City, not as intense as Flint, just hanging out with boats, breweries, and way too many antique stores. It's right on Lake Huron's Saginaw Bay. There are river walks, cute bridges, summer festivals, someone's always selling kettle corn out of a 1970s camper. Cost of living's nearly 24% under the national average. Median home price, $93,000. Rents about $700, $100, depending on whether you want a water view or just a yard full of weeds. But of course, there's a catch. The job market's pretty mild. Most work is in manufacturing, schools, or healthcare. If you're hoping for remote jobs, well, keep hoping. Crime's a bit more than you'd like. Bay City's safer than just 17% of U.S. cities. So yeah, lock your bike and maybe your mailbox too. One local nailed it. Living in Bay City is like dating someone sweet until they've had a few too many cheap beers. You move here for the prices, stay for the lake breeze, and eventually learn to handle Michigan's 3 weather settings. Too cold, just barely less cold, and randomly humid for no reason. You'll save money, but end up Googling how to winterize myself every fall. Let's talk weather. It can snow in April, thunderstorm in January, and your neighbor's still out grilling like nothing's wrong. The roads, potholes big enough to eat a Subaru. Driving here is real life. Mario Kart just with more swerving and less fun music. Bay City really only has 2 seasons: construction and hope. Picture this: you step outside, breathe in lake air. A seagull eyes you from a lamppost and you catch a snatch of polka from the summer beer fest. Grab a pasty from a food truck, watch a pontoon drift by, and immediately step in a puddle that's been frozen since March. Welcome to Bay City. Oh, and Madonna. Yep, she grew up here. Even the Queen of Pop had to start somewhere with icy sidewalks and bargain houses. At least the coffee shops stay open past 3 p.m. looking at you, Enid. So, would you live in a lakeside town where a house costs what a used Tesla battery does? Drop a sail away or hard pass in the comments. Bay City's cool, just don't expect warm weather before the 4th of July. If you thought Bay City was full of surprises, just wait until you hit the next stop. Mission. This place practically slips off the map and straight into a totally different way of life coming. In at number 20 on our list, in Mission, Texas. You can actually buy a house for less than $100,000 and still have cash left over for a lifetime supply of bug spray. Welcome to the tropics of Texas, where it's hot, cheap, and strangely silent after 10 p.m. Mission sits deep in the Rio Grande Valley right on the border, loaded with Tex-Mex flavor, palm trees, and sunsets that look straight out of a Netflix montage. The vibe is relaxed, colorful, and seriously affordable. Median home price? Around $98,000. Cost of living? 24% below the national average. You can rent a 2-bedroom with a C for $750 or less, and, believe me, you'll need that AC. There are about 85,000 people living here, and that number keeps climbing. Retirees, remote workers, and anyone chasing sunshine and spicy food keep rolling in. Sounds like a budget paradise. right? But here's the part nobody puts in the brochure. It's cheap, but it's also scorching. Like always, bring a spare shirt. Hot. Mission gets nearly 200 days of sunshine every year, and those triple-digit summers could melt your flip-flops. Most jobs are in agriculture, healthcare, or seasonal retail. Median income is about $50,000, which works when everything's this affordable. But don't expect to find the next big tech boom here. Crime stats look low until you remember border town politics and those dramatic news stories that mess with outsiders' ideas. Locals say it's safer than people assume. As someone on Reddit put it, living in Mission is like starring in a taco commercial during a heatwave warning. So what's the trade-off? All year sun, a slow pace, and house prices that feel like a throwback. But you also get mosquitoes the size of hummingbirds, a calendar that skips winter, and nightlife that's over before 10 p.m., unless you count the H-E-B parking lot at midnight where, guaranteed, someone's burning rubber in a Dodge Charger. Drivers in Mission only have 2 speeds, Easy Cruise or Fast and Furious. Border Edition. I once watched a guy reverse into a Whataburger spot so fast, I swear he cracked the sound barrier. And if you want coffee after 4 p.m., good luck. Your only option is a sad, lukewarm gas station cup that tastes like regret and old tires. And don't forget the fire ants. Seriously, they're everywhere. Nature's way of reminding you who's really in charge. Picture it. Golden sunlight, mariachi music drifting from a backyard, and the smell of grilled fajitas in the air. You wave to your neighbor who's already sweating through his 3rd shirt, and realize paradise here is just a matter of how much you'll pay to keep your AC running. Mission pumps out more grapefruit than most states, which, honestly, is how my dating life feels overlooked. A little bitter, but packed with vitamin C, at least in Mission. The breeze won't try to rip your soul out like an Enid. So could you handle 100-degree days all year just to never pay more than $100,000 for a house again? Tell me, I'm in, or I'll stay cold. Mission is relaxed, low cost, and filled with tacos. I'd never live unless Buys opens up somewhere with cooler weather. So, would you move to the border if you could get a house for under $90,000? Drop a C por favor in the comments if you're in, or nah. Maybe you'll keep freezing up in Michigan. Eagle Pass is chill, cheap, and real, but don't complain about the heat. We'll just laugh at you in Spanish. And if you think Eagle Pass is wild, wait till you see the next spot where it feels like time stopped somewhere between 1984 and an endless garage sale. Number 18, Springfield, Illinois. Here, you can snag a house for under $110,000. Visit Lincoln's tomb, and still get mugged near Taco Bell in the middle of the afternoon. It's not just the state capital, it's basically Lincoln Central. History everywhere, politics, and enough corn festivals to fill your calendar. You'd think capital means big city energy, but Springfield really feels like your uncle's backyard barbecue just spread over 60 square miles. Median home price sits around $108,000. Cost of living is about 20% below the national average. Average rent's under $850. Most jobs are government, education, or healthcare safe. Steady, maybe a little slow. It's affordable, loaded with history, and you might run into the governor at a gas station. But here's the catch. Springfield's crime rates feel straight out of a Chicago headline. Violent crime is almost double the national average. Property crime, not great. A 2022 report called Springfield one of the most dangerous cities in Illinois, even with Chicago in the mix. Someone on Reddit put it best. Lincoln laws and lock your doors. And don't get me started on the politics. People here treat the state budget like it's fantasy football, except nobody wins. So, what's the real price of cheap housing in Springfield? You get history, charm, and low costs. But you also get budget cuts, potholes, and neighbors who treat fireworks like an identity. You'll save on your mortgage, but spend more on security, window bars, and insurance with weird exclusions. You haven't truly lived here until your GPS detours you because a street's blocked for both a protest and a hot dog cookout. The weather is its own situation. It's winter until it's suddenly 85 and humid, like you've been wrapped in a wet paper towel. You can shiver and sweat on the same day. Once, I saw a squirrel hide in a mailbox. Even the wildlife has had enough. Picture stepping out of your vintage house, the one with the squeaky screen door and wallpaper that's ugly in a cute way. Barbecue smoke drifts in from a couple blocks over. It's warm, not quite hot. Some guy walks his dog buying cargo shorts. In February, life feels simple and easy until the sirens start up near 2nd and Monroe. Springfield's technically safer than East St. Louis, but it's a little crazier than Eagle Pass. Pick your brand of chaos. At least here, the potholes don't chase your car like in Bay City. Could you live where Lincoln is the main attraction, and your neighbor has 3 pet raccoons? If you're down, hit the comments with Honest Abe, I'm in. Or if you'd rather skip it, let us know. Springfield's where you raise kids. Avoid certain gas stations. And hope you don't accidentally time travel to 1865. Number 17, Warren, Michigan, where you can buy a house for less than a year's rent in Brooklyn. Just don't ask about the last 3 houses on your street. It's Michigan's 3rd biggest city, but don't expect thrills. Warren's a blue-collar, no-nonsense suburb north of Detroit. Auto plants, strip malls, and sidewalks that fade into grass. Median house price is about $99,000. Rent is around $850 to $950 for a 2-bedroom. Cost of living is 20% below the national average. If you've worked in auto manufacturing, this is pretty much the promised land. Warren's got the General Motors Tech Center, a couple defense contractors, and more now hiring signs than working crosswalks. But the thing is, Warren's got one foot in suburbia, and the other stuck in post-industrial limbo. Violent crime here is almost 50% higher than the national average, and property crime. That's pretty high too. Most of it's petty bikes taken, windows broken, packages disappearing off porches. If you work in trades or factories, you'll find a job. Otherwise, get ready to commute. Someone on Reddit summed it up. Warren is where dreams go to snag a good deal on tires and stick around for good. Here's what you get. It's affordable, there's fast food everywhere, and your neighbors show up with jumper cables before you even ask. But get ready for brutal winters, potholes that'll destroy your suspension, and a Target parking lot that always smells like antifreeze for some reason. You'll save a bunch on your mortgage, but probably blow it on car repairs and extra security cameras. Picture this waiting in line at Tim Hortons at 7:30 a.m. Snow whipping sideways, the guy behind you is shouting about brake pads into his headset. Your coffee's hot, the roads are trashed, and half the cars around you are 2004 Impalas that have been through a lot. In Warren, a house under $100,000 feels like both a steal and a dare. Imagine stepping outside into a freezing Michigan morning. The air's a mix of road salt, exhaust, and Speedway coffee. You've got space, a garage, neighbors will shovel your walk without being asked and then tell you about raccoons in your attic like it's no big deal. There are more auto parts stores than parks, which says a lot. Would you live somewhere the houses are this cheap, the snow's this deep, and the neighborhood watch is just chuck across the street? Let me know if you're in or out. Warren's not fancy, but you've got tools, tacos, and a backyard. That's enough for me. If rough around the edges sounds good to you, wait for the next place. Flint skipped charm and went straight to weird. Number 16, Flint. This is one of those rare places where houses cost less than your college textbooks. You've heard of it not from a travel brochure, but you've heard. Flint's infamous, say the name, and everyone thinks of the water. Fair enough. But here's the thing, Flint is slowly picking itself up, and the home prices barely seem real. Median home price, $69,000. Cost of living, dirt cheap. Rent $700 gets you your own place. The job market's mostly healthcare, education, government. Don't expect a tech scene. Crime, though prepare yourself. Flint's reputation is rough, and it's not just the water. Violent crime here is 4 times the national average. Property crimes, sky high. This is top 10 territory, forget a security system now. But here's the twist. Some parts of Flint are actually getting cool. Artists, developers, legit hipsters are moving into renovated old buildings downtown. There's a mural walk, and the coffee scene's surprisingly good. So what's the catch? You can buy a house for less than a Tesla down payment, but you're also signing up for trust issues, old pipes, and everyone's favorite punchline. You save a lot, but you inherit the ghosts of 2008 and probably a wildcat colony. Flint's the only place I've seen a coffee shop, a boarded-up liquor store, and a bail bonds billboard all on the same block. And the potholes these are legendary. Hit one and you'll swear you're about to land in Detroit wearing last decade's flip-flops. Some blocks are still dark at night because the streetlights just don't work. It's got that post-apocalyptic, Rust Belt feel. But it's not all bad. Step out your front door onto a quiet, tree-lined street. Someone's mowing, someone else is grilling kielbasa down the block. Your house costs less than your cousin's Prius, and your mortgage is the same as her Spotify bill. It's peaceful until the neighbor's pit bull starts barking at ghosts again. Flint's got more murals than working public fountains. And honestly, that's not even a punchline. Would you pack up for a city where the comeback is happening right in front of you? Where yesterday's headlines are now tomorrow's real estate ads? Or is that still a bit too much for your taste? Drop a Flint future or Flint nope in the comments. Flint's not for the timid, but if you're tough and love a deal, it's basically a gold mine hiding in plain view. And if Flint feels risky, just wait for the next spot, where real estate is less buy and hold and more truth or dare, mostly dare. Number 15. Toledo. Here's a city where you can pick up a house for $80,000, walk to a top-notch zoo, and trip over a broken sidewalk outside a Blockbuster that closed back when Obama was president. Toledo, the Glass City. Once the industrial MVP of the Great Lakes. Now it's a strange, budget-friendly blend of grit, slow progress, and food that honestly hits the spot. You get that classic Midwest toughness, with just enough new investment to keep things interesting. Median home price, $115,000. Rent runs about $750 to $850 a month. Cost of living is 22% below the national average. Highlights: world-class zoo, minor league hockey, and neighbors who'll dig out your car and hand you a bowl of chili afterward. But let's be honest, Toledo has neighborhoods that are on the rise, and others where you might keep your car running just to check the mail. Violent crime, twice the national average. Property crime is even higher. Not usually dangerous, but enough to make you double-check your trash cans. Jobs mostly in education, healthcare, and blue-collar work. You won't get rich, but you might actually own a house before you turn 40. One Redditor summed it up. Toledo's that weird middle kid, treat it right. It's cool. Ignore it, and it'll toss a brick through your window. Facts. Housing here costs less than what a lot of folks spend on a gym membership. But you might end up with a neighbor who has 6 cars in the yard, random floods, or just a city that's still finding itself. You'll save money, but you might lose a tire to a pothole the size of a bathtub. And the drivers? Every yellow light is a dare. I once saw someone do a U-turn in a school zone with a rib in one hand. The weather. Don't even get me started. The forecast says sun, but it's snowing sideways. Parades mean rain. Summer, that's just code for mosquitoes and humidity so thick you can chew it. Picture this. You step outside your paid-off $90,000 house. There's a chill in the air. Fresh bread from the Polish bakery drifts down the street, and someone's running a snowblower 3 blocks over. It's quiet, it's real. And by dinner, it's snowing again. Toledo's safer than Flint, but shadier than Springfield, which is saying something since Springfield can't even keep its politicians out of trouble. So, would you buy a house where the zoo is spotless, but your street might end up on HGTV's before list? Comment, Team Toledo, or hard pass. Toledo's cheap, stubborn, and full of odd surprises, like your dad's old recliner. If it came with free parking and a view of a glass factory, and if you think Toledo's quirky, just wait for the next city. Weird is basically their thing, and somehow, it works. Number 14. Scranton. Scranton, where your neighbors know your name, your business, and exactly what you paid for your house. Yes, that's Scranton. The one from The Office, Biden's hometown, and enough coal history to host a steampunk festival. These days, it's a blue-collar town trying to reinvent itself on a budget. Median house, just under $110,000. Average rent, about $800 for a decent 2-bedroom. Cost of living 20% below the national average. Jobs, healthcare, logistics, and whatever remote gig your neighbor's nephew is doing in sweatpants. But here's what you won't see on a postcard. Scranton's economy got flattened in the 80s and has been limping back ever since. Crime, not bad. You don't have to duck and cover, but keep an eye on your stuff. Petty theft and property crimes still pop up. Whether in the Northeast, total wild card. One day you're soaking up the sun, the next you're shoveling snow off your windshield, and by Thursday you're sweating through your hoodie. Downtown Scranton has this gritty vibe, old school architecture mixed with thrift shops and the odd vape store with a hand-painted sign. Someone on Reddit summed it up perfectly. Scranton's like your eccentric uncle. A bit rough, maybe smells like mothballs, but honestly, there's a real charm if you stick around. Housing is cheap, which is a huge plus, but you'll need patience. The city's working on a comeback, but don't expect magic overnight. It's still got dust on its shoes. So, what's good? People are welcoming, the food scene is relaxed, and you can actually buy a house without selling a kidney. But you've got to be cool with a little grime. Brutal winters, and hearing no The Office wasn't filmed here every other week. The roads? Imagine paving during an earthquake and just shrugging. Potholes deep enough to make you reconsider your life. Parking, parallel, uphill, never legal. So yeah, you'll probably lug your groceries home as the bag rips open one block at a time. But picture this, a quiet Saturday in a weathered brick house. The smell of coffee and bacon, kids biking past a faded coal memorial. There's space, quiet, and a mortgage smaller than your streaming bill. Scranton's odd, but it grows on you. They say it's safer than Flint. Try saying that as you slide down a hill in April sleet. Be real. Would you live where people are genuine, prices are low, and every third joke is about Dunder Mifflin? Drop a Dunder Mifflin me up or Nopeville in the comments. Scranton's stubborn, full of diners, and if you like a side of sarcasm with your life, you'll blend right in. Now, if you think Scranton's offbeat, just wait for Rochester. It's like someone took Quirky, nuked it, and served it cold. Number 13, Rochester. You can grab a 4-bedroom house for under $100,000 right before the lake effect snow blows in and your face goes numb. Once upon a time, Kodak and Xerox ran this place. Now it's the city quietly asking, remember us. Rochester's had economic whiplash, but here's the catch. It's turning into a magnet for creatives, remote workers, and anyone tired of paying $3,000 for a broom closet. Median home price, around $107,000. Rent for a 2-bedroom, about $900 a month. Cost of living is 20 to 25% under the national average. Crime's still an issue. Some zip codes have violent crime rates twice the national average. But there are upsides. Excellent colleges, solid health care, and food that'll surprise you. After the big companies left, the economy tanked. But it's rebuilding with tech, healthcare, and a flood of freelancers. Gentrification is creeping in. Sometimes it means a cool brewery, sometimes just a boarded-up laundromat. Roll the dice. Here's the deal. You get space and savings, but also a crash course in surviving seasonal depression. Rochester gets more than 100 inches of snow every year. The sun ghosts you for weeks. You'll save money, but you'll spend it on boots, therapy, lamps, and enough salt to pave your own driveway. If Elsa had a hometown, it'd be Rochester. Some mornings your car needs a pep talk just to turn over. Spring, not really. You just leap from blizzard to humidity as if the calendar skipped a page. And why is every latte as expensive as your water bill? Picture this. You wake up in a charming Victorian, snow falling outside, silence everywhere. You're wrapped in thrifted flannel, sipping local coffee, watching a jazz sax player outside the used bookstore. Then your pipes freeze. Living here is like owning a cozy sweater that sometimes catches fire. But honestly, I'd rather freeze in Rochester than pay LA rent. The suburbs are safer than some NYC neighborhoods, but don't think your car won't freeze shut in April. Would you live where snow boots are a lifestyle and rent is stuck in 2006? Drop a Rochester resilient or no podcaster below. If you think Rochester is crazy, get this, the next city has even cheaper houses. Plus, you might get a possum in the backyard for free. Number 12, St. Louis. Here, you can buy a house for $60,000 maybe with a bonus bullet hole and a neighbor called Sketchy Steve. St. Louis is a bundle of contradictions. The Gateway Arch, blues, baseball, toasted ravioli, and some of the lowest home prices in any big U.S. city. Median home price around $110,000. Rent averages about $925 a month. St. Louis is affordable, like 18% under the national average affordable. The job scene, way better than you'd guess, especially if you're into healthcare, education, or aerospace. But let's be real, violent crime in some neighborhoods is 420% higher than the national average. That's not a misprint. Some parts of St. Louis feel like Brooklyn on a good day. Others, honestly, are right out of a post-apocalyptic game. It's not just the bad side of the tracks. Sometimes, the entire track is a disaster. Still, there's something about this place. People here are resilient, creative, and the arts scene is alive. The food? Seriously underrated. And the old brick homes from the 1800s, if they're still standing, are beautiful in that worn, lived-in way. Someone on Reddit put it perfectly. In STL, the house might be $70,000, but your Ring camera better be $300. That's the deal. You can save a lot living here, but you've got to know what you're doing. Choose the wrong zip code, and you'll get sirens, busted windows, and lawn chairs that haven't moved since the 90s. But in the right neighborhood, you're golden sipping $3 craft beers on your porch, watching your home value climb while your Amazon packages mysteriously disappear. Driving here, it's chaos. I've watched people make left turns from the right lane while texting. Yellow lights mean maybe slow down, if you feel like it. Downtown parking is a whole ordeal. Bring quarters from the Clinton era if you want a meter, and expect a few extra dings on your bumper. But some nights, you just sit on your stoop at sunset, warm brick at your back, cicadas buzzing, and the sound of a Cardinals game drifting over from the neighbor's radio. You've got a $90,000 house, a decent job, and enough cash left over for your own Netflix until, of course, a random Tuesday fireworks show goes off 2 blocks away. St. Louis. Cheaper homes than Des Moines, but triple the odds your porch furniture disappears. Would you swap high crime for low rent and unbeatable barbecue? Arch life or hard pass, it's up to you. And if you think St. Louis is a wild ride, just wait for the next stop. Detroit, where homes sometimes go for less than a fancy bottle of water. Detroit, you can actually buy a house for $1 here. Yes, a real house for less than lunch money. This is Motor City, once the heart of horsepower and assembly lines, now a place where entire blocks go for what you'd spend at a vending machine. But beneath the ghost town headlines, the city's still kicking. In a gritty, persistent, stubborn way. The median home price sits around $66,000. Cost of living is almost 30% lower than the national average. Rent for a decent 2-bedroom? About $950. Crime's still tough. Detroit ranks near the top for violent crime. But there's another side. Big money is flowing in, especially downtown, with tech, real estate, and mobility investments. Detroit isn't dead. It's just on reboot number 3, like a scrappy Netflix show with a new cast every season. Downtown looks different now. Tech startups, sleek lofts, and coffee shops called things like Clutch and Grind. Walk a few blocks though, and you're back in Fallout 4. A local once joked, Detroit's like dating someone who's in therapy. They're not okay, but they're working on it. That says it all. You get a yard, a garage, real freedom, but you'll probably want bars on your windows and a backup generator. On paper, you're flush, until someone rips out the copper from the phone pole and your Wi-Fi drops again. If you're gutsy, creative, or just don't care what your in-laws say, Detroit could be your kind of challenge. The roads, forget it. It's like the city played whack-a-mole with a jackhammer. Driving is more like dodging craters, honestly. I once saw a Prius disappear into one. If you ever wondered where Atlantis went, check I-94 in the spring. Imagine it. You buy a house for $5,000, slap on some paint, plant tomatoes in the backyard. The air smells like old records and grilled kielbasa. You cruise past murals, Motown in your headphones. There's grit, there's hope, and you're right in the thick of it. You might feel like a pioneer, until a raccoon the size of a golden retriever decides you're the main event. Detroit, it'll shatter your heart and tape it back together in the same week. But don't expect the city to shovel your block. You can buy a house here for less than an RV in Arizona, but you'll want a streetwise manual and probably a tetanus booster before moving in. Think Detroit's real estate is wild. The next spot hands out land for free. The catch? Hope you're handy with a shovel? Number 10. Pittsburgh. Here, the average house costs less than a single year at a private college, and you won't have to recover from student loan trauma. Pittsburgh isn't just smokestacks anymore. It's morphed from Steel City to tech hotspot, with Google, Uber, and Duolingo setting up shop. But even with all that, the cost of living seems stuck in the past. Median home price, about $175,000. Living costs are nearly 10% lower than the national average. You can rent a two-bedroom for $1,150 cheaper than the tilted studio I once lived in. The job market's gaining steam in tech, healthcare, and robotics. Crime, it's moderate, but depends on the neighborhood, so walking around sometimes feels like safe or sketchy roulette. Pittsburgh's real advantage, nobody gives it enough credit. Big league sports, beautiful parks, top-tier universities, and somehow the rest of the country hasn't noticed. The weather's unpredictable: rain, fog, snow, and sun, all before dinner. The hills, GPS just gives up and says, good luck. If you haven't reversed down an icy driveway at sunrise, have you really lived here? The downside, you get charm, culture, and maybe a backyard, but you'll also inherit America's most puzzling street map and a skyline that disappears in the mist. Still, Pittsburgh is one of the rare places in the U.S. where you can actually buy a home and still have enough left for furniture, even if it's all black and gold. And Pittsburgh drivers. Merging is a telepathic act. No signals, just vibes. Add potholes big enough to swallow your car, and you're basically playing Rust Belt Mario Kart. I once saw someone dodge a cone, hit a snowbank, and end up parked sideways outside Sheetz. Picture this: a brisk autumn morning, mist swirling over the Allegheny. You grab coffee from a diner that's older than your grandparents, cross one of 400 bridges, and your worst problem is a moody parking meter. Not bad for a city with a postcard skyline and rents straight out of 2009. Pittsburgh has more bridges than venison, honestly. More potholes than the lunar surface. Number 9. Memphis. You can buy a house here for less than a used Tesla. Plus, the house won't go up in smoke in the rain. Memphis is the cradle of rock and roll. Home to barbecue, that'll ruin your diet, and the housing prices so low even Zillow gets suspicious. It's the kind of city that makes you ask, seriously, what's the catch? Median home price is around $118,000. Living here is about 17% cheaper than the national average. You can rent a two-bedroom for under $1,000, less your landlord's planning an early retirement. Jobs, logistics, healthcare, FedEx, HQ. It's not a tech mecca, but people work and pay their bills here. Crime? High. Like maybe have your Amazon stuff shipped somewhere else. High. But here's the thing. Memphis has soul. And I mean that literally and figuratively. The music scene is iconic. The food is almost illegal. And sometimes so is the crime. But many affordable neighborhoods are full of history, charm, and neighbors who actually say hi. Living here's a risk, but at least you know what's on the table. You swap glitz for grit if you can handle muggy summers, old AC units, and drivers who treat red lights as a suggestion. You might build equity instead of watching your rent money vanish. And about Memphis drivers. Imagine Grand Theft Auto, but nobody wears a seatbelt and turn signals are nothing but a myth. One time, I saw a guy spinning donuts in a Walmart parking lot while a cop just waved like it was the 4th of July parade. If your brakes are new and your reflexes are quicker than Elvis's dance moves, you'll be just fine. That's Memphis for you: cheap houses, free music, and a tire bill that'll make you wince. Number 8. You can pick up a house here for under $100,000 and still have enough left over to start your own taco truck fleet. Seriously, McAllen isn't just for snowbird grandmas. It's where your bank account feels like it hit puberty. McAllen is right on the US-Mexico border, soaking up the sunshine. Honestly, it might be the most affordable small city in America. Plus, it's got Wi-Fi. Median home price, around $98,000. Cost of living, about 22% less than the national average. Rent for a two-bedroom is about $850. That's what you'd drop on avocado toast and Even better, crime is surprisingly low for a border city. And yes, calm down, there's a target. But McAllen is kind of a split personality. One side has palm trees, walkable neighborhoods, and some of the best healthcare in Texas. The other side is an economy that's just sort of coasting, kind of like your cousin who delivers DoorDash, but claims he's big into crypto. People online say living in McAllen is like Texas without all the swagger. Strangers greet you, which is weird at first. You'll save a ton, but you'll sweat through half your closet before noon. And don't even start on the mosquitoes unless you want nightmares. What no one tells you is that McAllen isn't just cheap, it's peaceful. Almost suspiciously peaceful, like a Hallmark movie set, only stickier. The weather. The sun seems to have it out for you. You don't walk to your car, you dash, praying your sneakers don't melt. The AC is your best friend. If you don't own a dehumidifier, you're basically drinking the air. Imagine this, a slow afternoon, rocking on your porch at 5 p.m., the tamale truck honking down the street. It smells like lime and tortillas, and you just paid off your house in cash. That's McAllen.com. Slow, strangely wholesome. It's so affordable even your ex could start fresh here. And if you think McAllen is laid back, just wait for the next spot hits. What happens when cheap and quirky meet during a dust storm? Number 7. Here, you can buy a 3-bedroom house for less than the price of more storage on your iPhone. Welcome to Waycross, Georgia, quiet little town pressed up against the Okefenokee Swamp. It's the kind of place where the Waffle House is basically City Hall, and your neighbor might be a gator named Earl. Here's the lowdown. Median home price is about $85,000. Rent for a 2-bedroom, around $700. Cost of living, around 25% below the national average. The job market is polite, nothing booming, nothing flatlining. Crime is moderate, unless you count raccoons and armadillos. But here's what nobody puts on a brochure. The railroad is the biggest employer. And when the trains aren't rattling your windows, mosquitoes are downtown. Feels a bit like The Walking Dead, but with more Dollar Generals. Still, Waycross is trying. There's a brewery, a couple of great barbecue places, and by 9 a.m., 3 people have already called you hun. So if you want to live like a king on a lawnmower budget, Waycross is your ticket. You'll trade convenience for peace and quiet though. No 2 a.m., Uber Eats, no Pilates classes. Just front porches, crickets, and maybe a possum in your garbage. Step outside in July, and it's like being shrink-wrapped. The AC doesn't hum, it roars. The bugs, don't mess with them. You haven't known terror until a Georgia mosquito stares you down. In Waycross, your house might come with land, a storm shelter, and an uncle named Bubba thrown in for free. So, would you rather squeeze into a shoebox apartment in LA? Or own a house in Waycross with a porch swing and wild hogs wandering by? That's not even a debate. It's not dull here. It's tranquil-like, boring, but with a better spin. Just ask Cheryl. She's 63, has been here forever, and probably knows more about sweet tea than anyone you'll ever meet. Number 6. Hermitage. You could buy a house here for what you'd spend on a used Subaru, with enough left for a snowblower and Sheets coffee for life. Hermitage, Pennsylvania. Sounds like a mountain hideaway, right? Not even close. It's tucked into the snowy, slow-paced world of Western people. The vibe, warm, laid back, and completely uninterested in whatever's happening anywhere else. People here love their lawns, relax on their porches, and park their trucks in driveways wide enough to land a small plane. Median home price? Just under $90,000. Cost of living? 20% below the national average. Jobs? You'll find them in healthcare, education, and manufacturing. Crime is so unusual, a stray raccoon makes headlines. Life moves slow, feels safe, and there's just enough small-town quirkiness to keep things interesting. But Hermitage is basically your grandma's attic. It's quiet, a bit charming, and full of stuff that hasn't moved since 1994. Don't expect trendy coffee shops or anything. High speed here, Wi-Fi pauses to think before loading your memes. And the snow? Hermitage doesn't just get snow, it's got an advanced degree in it. Living here is easy on your budget. Your mortgage costs less than a Starbucks barista's weekly tips. But you'd better be friendly, because your neighbors will talk to you every single day. Sometimes they'll clear your driveway without asking. Every traffic light lasts longer than a Netflix intro. There's one mall. It's open, technically, but it feels haunted most days. After 9 p.m., good luck finding anywhere open. This place shuts down faster than a lawn chair at the end of a picnic. Imagine waking up to silence, not spooky silence, but the kind that hugs you like a blanket. The snow outside is untouched. You're on your porch, wrapped in plaid, sipping cocoa and feeling like you're in a Hallmark movie. Then you notice your sidewalk's already cleared. You're not even sure who did it. That's Hermitage. Some towns just sleep. Hermitage is in the middle of a deep REM cycle with a weighted blanket and no alarm in sight. So would you trade late-night sushi and traffic jams for total peace, 4 feet of snow, and a mortgage that's barely more than your phone bill? Yes or yes. Number 5. Platte City. You can buy a house here for less than $150,000, which sounds like either a dream or a glitch in the Midwest Matrix. Either way, welcome to Platte City. The name sounds straight out of an old western. You half expect a showdown outside the local Casey's, but really, it's a quiet, small place just north of Kansas City. The streets are calm, American flags wave everywhere, and at least one neighbor owns 3 lawnmowers and uses them all. Median home prices range from $130,000 to $160,000, depending on which side of Main Street you're on. Cost of living is about 14% below the national average. The crime rate is low, not zero, but mostly porch pirate mischief. For work, you're a 25-minute drive from Kansas City. That can be a bonus or a hassle, depending on traffic and your caffeine level. Life here is a starter kit for families. Good schools, parks, endless youth leagues. But don't expect a buzzing nightlife. If you're going out, it probably means Sonic, or, if you're feeling bold, the Dollar General. One trip to Target. Bring snacks, it's a trek. Someone in the local Facebook group put it best. It's peaceful here. Too peaceful. I saw a squirrel and I think it stared at me for like 8 seconds. You get affordable homes and a family feel, but your social calendar might feel frozen in time. You'll save on housing, but you could spend a fortune on gas, just searching for a decent tie spot. I'm convinced whoever paved the roads here trained on roller coasters. 1 turn and you're airborne. 2 more and you're crawling through a school zone with Brenda and her lifted truck right behind you. And yes, there's always construction, even when nothing gets built. If your dream is living somewhere, Dairy Queen is both the hangout and the cultural hub. Platte City might be your spot. Hermitage shuts down at 9 p.m. Platte City calls it a night by 8:30, but with a firm handshake. Fun fact, Platte City has more antique shops per capita than actual restaurants. Not fact-checked, but it feels true. And if all this sounds like a Mayberry reboot with Wi-Fi, just wait, the next town has cheap rent and the weird comes free. Number 4. Aches Village. Imagine landing a 2-bedroom in the Bay Area for under $300,000. Seriously, that's not a typo. Welcome to Aches Village, California's best-kept housing hack, tucked away in Richmond, which already has its own reputation. This offbeat enclave doesn't follow the standard real estate script. Officially, it's Aches Village, built during World War II to house defense workers. Now it's something totally different. Fast forward to today, and you've got a little co-op paradise plopped in the middle of, let's be honest, still gritty Richmond. The median price for a unit? Around $250,000 for the Bay Area. That's unheard of. HOA fees are $400 a month, but that covers insurance, water, garbage, and, honestly, a step back in time. The trade-off. Richmond's crime rate is tough. Violent crime is 117% above the national average. San Francisco is about 40 minutes away on BART, provided you're not stuck behind a tech bro driving 55 in the fast lane. The neighborhood vibe is old-school-co-op rules. Neighbors who know everyone's recycling schedule, and a kind of togetherness that's rare these days. Here's the twist. You're not buying a house in Aches. You're buying into a cooperative. That means everyone shares ownership of the land. All the big decisions, they're made together. So that nosy neighbor, they're also your business partner now. The upside is obvious. Shockingly affordable housing where most homes are priced higher than you, your parents, and your grandparents combined. The downside, you're living under 1940s COPI laws in a part of Richmond that's, let's say, still a work in progress. Picture it. You escape the San Francisco rent trap, Move into a charming pre-war townhouse and instantly get written up for using the wrong curtains. Here, your neighbors are more than just neighbors. They're the homeowner's tribunal, complete with folding chairs, old feuds, and a devotion to the rulebook. So, if you've ever wanted to live inside a vintage postcard with a bonus neighborhood watch, this is your shot. Remember Platte City's retro feel. Aches just said, "Hold my ration book." And just for fun, try to name how many places in California have homes under $300,000. Pretty much just Aches and that shack from Nomadland. Would you trade traditional property rights for an affordable mortgage-free life in California? Some folks get creative when money's tight. Others sprint away from the co-op board. Number 3, Yankton. Here's a place where you can buy a house for the price of a used Subaru and still have cash left over to renovate. Yankton sits on the Missouri River, tucked away like it's dodging inflation and big city headaches. It almost looks fake, like someone pasted it into a Midwest postcard. You get steamboats, a sleepy downtown, and neighbors who wave with their whole hand. Median home price, about $220,000. The cost of living is 16% below the national average. Crime is lower, roughly half the national average, depending on the year. The job scene is steady, mostly healthcare, manufacturing, or whatever your buddy at the VFW can hook you up with. The quality of life is peaceful, relaxed, and just quirky enough to keep things interesting. But people don't really talk about the weird parts. The seasons are intense, and once anyone under 30 realizes there's no Trader Joe's, they're off to Sioux Falls. The atmosphere is somewhere between a Norman Rockwell painting and a Facebook feud about deer season. On the money front, it's a win. Cheap houses, low crime, and those summer nights by the river. But if you're after blazing fast Wi-Fi, late-night Thai, or anonymity, you might feel a little too noticed here. Yankton's version of nightlife, a gas station that serves fresh pizza, there's a bar that doubles as a karaoke lounge, a dart league headquarters, and, honestly, the unofficial marriage counseling center, sometimes all at the same time. Picture your morning geese honking over the river, coffee in hand, dew on the lawn, no traffic, no sirens. Just you, a fisherman arguing with a pelican, and a neighbor who treats good morning like a holy greeting. If you could buy peace and quiet, Yankton would have the monopoly. Stack it against St. Louis, and it's like swapping dodge a bullet for dodge a squirrel. Fun fact, Yankton used to be the capital of Dakota Territory. Now, it's where South Dakota sends people who need to relax. And if you think life moves slow here, just wait until you find out the local McDonald's drive-thru closes early for deer season. Number 2, price. You can actually buy a house in Price, Utah for less than you'd spend on a year's rent in LA. Just don't expect to find a sushi place open after 8. If Utah were a band, Salt Lake would be front and center, holding the mic, but Price is the guy in the back, playing a battered harmonica, quietly keeping things honest. No ego, no crazy rent. About 8,200 people call it home, tucked between desert cliffs and old coal seams. It's a slow town, classic, peaceful, and honestly, almost ridiculously affordable. Median house, $200,000. Living here costs about 18% less than the national average. Unemployment sits at just 2.9%. Don't come here expecting a big city dream jobbin', less your dreams involve forklifts or fossils. Crime? Barely. Maybe a shoplifter or a mountain lion wandering down from the hills. Whether you'll love it depends on how you feel about tumbleweeds, church bells, and waving to strangers at Walmart. No one really says it, but living in Price feels like time travel with a spotty Wi-Fi signal. It's peaceful, but your internet drags. Nightlife? Not really. Someone on Reddit summed it up. If you're under 40 and not into rodeo, you'll end up alphabetizing your pantry twice. Here, people know your truck, your cousin, and if you bother to recycle, there's a strange comfort in that. You save a lot: low taxes, cheap homes, rent straight out of 2005. The trade-off. Your social life is, did you hear what the mayor said at Denny's? Your bank account grows, but your appetite for excitement might shrink. Let's talk food. There's a diner, 2 Subways, and a Taco Bell that might close early if someone's niece has a piano recital. International cuisine means a squirt of but imagine this. You're on a wooden porch, the sky blazing orange over the desert, sipping coffee, hearing a train, and your neighbor rides by on a horse. It's quiet, it's enough. Price proves not every cheap town is falling apart. Some just look exactly like they did in 1987. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, $1 million buys you a shoebox and a neighbor named Crypto Chad. In price, that money gets you a 4-bedroom and a backyard big enough for your ego and then some. Fun fact, Price used to have the world's largest coal mine. Now, the main draws are a dinosaur museum and a bowling alley, which, honestly, feels about right. Now, Detroit, back in the Motor City, and it deserves another look. Nowhere else in America does what Detroit does. A $5 house with a skyline view, crowbar included. Rent is low, the art scene is wild, and survival depends on your zip code. If you can handle being a king in exile, a landlord with empty units, or a flipper who forgot about foundations, you can live big here. Detroit isn't just cheap, it's affordable for your soul. Every disaster comes with a free lesson in grit. That's Detroit, the cheapest city with the most tangled story. Homes cost little, and the punchlines never stop.